We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. There are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, a different heritage, biased and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna oppress us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the planes dropping shells like rain? Sucker had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abaganazo Bunigwe was stronger than flood, but the joke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my vein. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. I see the rising sun from Africa. Oh, this is sign of victory. Oh, yeah. I see future in Africa. Oh, yeah. People of Biafra. See light shining on the world. Oh, yeah.
What's that, Martin? We're not fighting each other. We know where we're going. We're going to get Biafra. There is nothing anybody can do about it. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. I need them to understand this. We've crossed the Rubicon, the point of no return. There is nothing anybody can do. If I'm alive, if I'm dead, if I'm wherever I may be, Biafra will come. If I'm dead, it's even better because it will come far more quicker. I can assure you. If Biafra is fighting for you, no one will touch your property. If you're fighting alone, you're bound to lose it. So Biafra is the best. We will become the 16th member country of ECOWAS. If Nigeria doesn't release those properties, then we'll take them to court and we'll get them back. Even twice the value. The Jews had investments all over the world. Most of the priceless artifacts and paintings belonged to many families in Germany. It was stolen by the Nazi Party. Do you know that? Eventually, they got everything back with compensation on top of it. That's what we're going to do. If you touch our investments, we'll come back for you, and we'll know where we can get it from. So there is nothing for anyone to worry about. It's only if I'm not stopping you from being a Nigerian. If you are born on the streets of Lagos and you want to be a Lagosian and your name is Adamma, oh well and good. There's no problem.
Onye si na agata anya ahụhụ ma ọ bụ na anyị fe arụsị anyị wee na-efe arụsị mgbe were iwe gị na ọmụma gị wee bịa leta anyị ụmụ anyị wee na-anwụsị ụfọdụ nọ n'ụzọ ije ha anaghị alọta ụlọ ọzọ nne na nna wee na-ata ahụhụ wee na-ata ikikere eze nwaanyị kunye ka ọ gaa ubi gaa rụọ ọrụ Fulani chiri ehi bata ebe ala gị n'iyi okwu ebepụ isi anyị pụta anyị kpọpụ onye nwe anyị n'ugwu Awụsa ahụ ejide anyị wee gbuo ihe ọ bụ anyị mara aka n'ime ha si maka ha aga n'ihu elekwa ọdụ ụgbọ mmiri n'igwe ọcha bụ ememiri ọya nke dị na Kalaba otu aka ahụ anyị na-ala nsọ ebe Biafra bụ ndị kọstọm sokonye anyị n'etiti anyị anyị anọghị n'ime mmiri kama kọstọm jiri ebe niile ha wee na-ata anyị ahụhụ anyị kwuo ekosịpụta anyị ka kpọchie anyị kwuo ekwasịpụta anyị ka gbagbuo anyị onye nwe anyị na Chineke na nke bi n'igwe ọ bụ ụzọ dị anya ka isi wepụ ndị iro anyị n'anya wee karịa ndị nke gị akwa anyị bụ ụmụ Chineke akwa ọba aha anyị ka anyị na-aza akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza ike Chukwu akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza amara Chineke akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chisom akwa ọba anyị nwe na-aza Chizọba nna nke dị nsọ onye ime eluigwe dịka otu onye iro dị na anyị bụ ụmụ gị bịa ka iwe zọpụta anyị bịa ka iwe napụta anyị n'aka ọjọọ ihe bịa ka iwe lụọrọ anyị ọgụ bịa ka iwe dịtụ ozu ọ bụ ọkọwa mgbe emilere Goliath Chineke nna nke igwe ruo ememiri Fero sikwa otu a mee ka Fero ka ọ guzo n'ihu ụmụ ndị anyị ga-ebite owe eto akọkọ igiri ụtọ ọzọ ị ga na-edu anyị n'ụzọ niile nke ezi omume ọ bụla adịghị na anyị na-aga ndagwurugwu onyinye ọnwụ ọ bụ nwa bụ ekele n'igwe n'ụwa nwunye ọbụla kere gị n'oge malite n'oge ọgwụgwụ kama anyị onwe anyị gwa anọkpa ahụ ofu ụbọchị anyị ga-anwụ n'ezie kama ma akọ na ogbu gị na-anọgide ego ego mgbe ebighị ebi ọ bụ ya mere anyị ji were gị n'anya isi anyị wee na-asị nna nke dị nsọ bịa ka iwe gosi anyị Biafra na ndụ na-abụghị n'ọnwụ bịa ka iwe na-ekebe gị na amara gị wee kpuchiri anyị ka uwe bịa ka iwe zọpụta ndị nke gị bịa ka iwe mee ka Biafra wee bịa ka anyị na-ewetụta na nsọpụrụ na ịja mma site n'aha gị onye bụ Chukwu nke abịa ma
You're welcome, my brothers and sisters, wherever you are watching from. I thank you for joining us on this very evening section of our program. Remember, today is a very special day, Monday. We will not forget that Monday is always a special day for us. It is a day that we have chosen to air our opinion, a day that we have chosen to call the attention of the world, a day that we have chosen to make sure that our voice is being heard. Monday is not like any other day. It doesn't matter whether everybody is participating or few people are participating. The memory of Monday must keep kept alive. One of the most important things is that this Monday is a day we remember Nnamdi Kanu and even Simon Ekpa, our Prime Minister. Because it is our Prime Minister that made sure that Biafrans are supported to continue to keep this promise. So Simon Ekpa played a very, very important role. That is why we must not forget today. No matter what you see, no matter what you do, it is a day that you cannot afford to forget. Even if you forget any other thing, not today. You can't forget today. It is a very special day. A day that will show the world that Nigeria have lost legitimacy in Biafra territory. A day will show the world that the Zoological Republic do not have authority in our land. So no matter how many people that participate, it is very important to note that every Monday, Biafrans made it a special day to demand for the unconditional release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. And today, the release of our Prime Minister Mazen Samanepa is a day we show the world that Nigeria has no legitimacy in Biafra territory. They have no legitimacy. They can continue to pretend. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter how many people that participate. We must keep that memory alive. I know that a lot of things have gone wrong. I know that many of us are disappointed. I know that many of us are weakened. I know that the heart and mind of many of us is cold. But I beg you in the name of Chukwu, carry on. Don't give up. Don't give up. Continue to stand strong. Because there is still hope. There is hope. And we must continue to demand for the release of our Supreme Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and release of our Prime Minister Mazen Samga. And remember, the release of these men will mark the beginning of the actualization of Biafra. The release of these men will guarantee our unity. The release of these men will guarantee our recognition. So, don't allow anybody to deceive you, to tell you something to make you happy. All these propaganda lies they are telling you here and there, because that is what you want to hear. I am sorry. I am not here to tell you like that. Some of you who were made to believe that, oh, there is nothing to fight for again, Biafra has come. Now you understand that the battle have just started. But some of us, you made to believe that, oh, we can't fight for anything again. Biafra has been restored, this and that. Is it not clear to you now that Nigerian government is still attacking our territory? This is why I was crying for Liberation Army. This was what I was crying when they were trying to destroy the Liberation Army. I was calling for peace, for unity, because I know that today will come. Nigerian government have succeeded in destabilizing us. While we were gossiping, engaging in saga, they destroyed our land. Today, Nigerian government today is using their conventional media to promote hate against Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and Mazen Samanepa. Are you not surprised that today a conventional media in Nigeria is broadcasting IPOB Nigeria? Somebody will go to Nigerian television and be promoting a proscribed group, proscribed IPOB Nigeria. That woman that called herself Lolon Nega. This is the agent that Nigerian government have bought. They bought her, they paid her, and they paid her well. They paid her. She's appearing in VOP once, sometimes 2 times in a week. And we host the program for hours. What is the title of the program? Igbo program, just to turn the people's mind against Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. She'll be telling you that Mazen, it doesn't matter. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu doesn't matter anymore. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu's statement doesn't matter. That we should not listen to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu anymore. You should be listening to idiots who have sold out. She's telling you to listen to people that are working with IPOB Nigeria, people that are working with Soludo, working with Hope Uzerima. That is the people that Lolon Nega want you to listen to. And she is campaigning for them very, very seriously every day, morning and night. She is campaigning for them. What a shame. Wherever you are as a Biafran, don't you ever lose your guard. We can make our nation what it's supposed to be. Don't allow. If anybody is telling you anything apart from free Mazen Nnamdi Kanu and free Mazen Samanepa, run as much as you can. That is the only project we have. It is now clear. Some of you before it's not clear for you, but today it don't dey clear for your eye now. It don't dey clear for your eye. Say the only person where they fight for this freedom, where would they cry for is Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon. Today, go and check every other people. They are busy doing one thing or the other. They are busy doing one thing or the other. And still, some of you like stories, right? You want me to come and clap a hand for you. You want me to come and tell you what you want to hear. You don't go hear that from my mouth. If you don't have common sense, it's up to you. If you decide not to have common sense, it is up to you. But of course, I know that common sense is not common. Yes, common sense is not common. That is why some of us behave like something that I don't know. No matter what happens, every one of us, you should continue to be strong. Continue to be strong. Continue to be strong. Some idiots will come to confuse you, and they will come to tell you lies. It's okay. God will judge. Whatever you sow, you will reap. And look at some idiot. They are calling the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Samara satanic. Okay. If legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Samara is satanic, what is your legacy? You that is writing this stuff. And the funniest thing that some of these idiots cannot even show themselves. You can't show your face. We are not forcing you to have freedom. We are protecting the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi and Mazi Samara. Whose legacy are you protecting? Tell me. You are protecting Tinubu legacy. Are you promoting Tinubu legacy? Or whose legacy? Your mother, your father's legacy are you promoting? Show us whose legacy are you protecting? You call the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and legacy of Mazi Samara satanic. Tell me you only say Nigeria, look at it. Nigeria rebel. Nigeria bell. Wait. Nigeria bell. Idiot. He was not even bold to answer his name. He said he's answering Nigerian Bello. You're answering Nigerian Bello. You don't even have the courage and confidence to use your own name and your picture. And you come to my platform to type satanic legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Whose legacy are you protecting? Tinubu legacy. Tell us the only. I'm bold now. Me, I am proud to say I am protecting the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Samara. What about you? Whose legacy are you defending? Tell me. I don't talk my own now. So you, Unko, whose legacy are you protecting? That is the question. Whose legacy are you protecting? It is a shame. That is why Boko Haram is dealing with you people. That is why the terrorists are kidnapping your mothers and your fathers. That is why the Janjaweed have run over you and you will never succeed. Forget. You still have time to come and type on my platform. Maybe by next week you will not be typing again. Because you managed to escape today. They are coming. They have thrown bomb on you and you escaped. The same people you were protecting their legacy of Boko Haram. Don't worry, that legacy of Boko Haram, follow legacy of Boko Haram, I will see. Very soon you will not have a place to type again. Bunch of idiots and clowns. I am proud to protect the legacy of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Samara, and I will continue to promote it. No matter what happens, I will promote it. If you will cry. If you want to go and hug transformer, go and hug transformer. I will continue to, because they are the only people that have been tested and trusted. People that care about humanity. People that care about others. People that care about collective interests, not selfish, not personal interests. So I will continue to promote their legacy. And today, Monday, you can never forget them. You will never forget Mazi Simon. And even if you are a Biafran and you're writing this nonsense, don't worry. by fire, by force. My son said it, I will abakaleke you into Biafra. You will hear that. You are not, you are talking against the legacy of Mazin Nandek and Mazin Samanaba. Then tell me your own legacy, legacy of Boko Haram. Your own legacy is legacy of Boko Haram. You cannot distract us. Today is a special day. A day that we will always remember. A day we will always talk about. A day we will continue to show the world that we are not part of the zoological republic. We are not part of it. We want to create our own nation, Biafra. Biafra is a nation that is going to be like other nations in the world where peace will reign, where you keep your thing and go out. Nobody is going to touch it. Where security of life and property will be number one thing. Security of life and property will be number one thing. That is the nation we are creating. That is the nation we are looking forward to. And that nation is coming very soon. Yeah, welcome, my beloved sister, Messi Akere. Thank you so much. So, wherever you are and you are watching us on this program, don't give up. Forget about all these nonsense people because they succeeded in kidnapping Nnamdi Kanu and they followed their criminal agenda, manipulation of the British, and they arrested Mazi Simon Ekpa. Mazi Simon Ekpa is going to come out. The appeal is coming on the 5th of August. Mazi Simon Ekpa is already out for almost the 3 years. He's almost 3 years. His sentence is almost serving all his sentence. The 6 year sentence they gave him is almost finished. Even if they didn't release him in the appeal, the 6 years is 3 years. He's going to serve 3 years, and 3 years is almost gone. He's going to come out. For those of you who think that Mazi Simon Ekpa is going to come out, he is coming out. Mazi Simon Ekpa is coming out. That is why I'm telling Biafrans to hang on there. Hang on there. Continue to pray for Mazi Simon Ekpa, more especially Mazi Simon Ekpa. Because we know the demon that is holding Mazi Nnamdi is so much. A black man, black demon. Black and unrepentant demon. White demon can equally understand sometimes. White, they have limit to their own wickedness. White have limit to their wickedness. But black demon, it takes another extraordinary power to release somebody from the hand of the black demon. And all we know is that the freedom of Mazi Simon Ekpa is going to shake the zoo. It will shake the prison wall, and Mazi Nnamdi will come out. Because it was sentence of Mazi Nnamdi that gave them Mazi Simon Ekpa that gave them the power to go and convict Mazi Nnamdi alive. It was because they saw that Finland has convicted Mazi Nnamdi, and they heard her on that. They used it as a precedent to convict Mazi Nnamdi. So immediately Mazi Simon Ekpa comes out, it's an automatic. It will kick off the release of Mazi Nnamdi, whether they like it or they don't like it. It is going to happen. And it's happening very soon. So that is why you must support anything that will make sure that Mazi Simon Ekpa is accurately and properly represented in the court. Support the freedom of Mazi Simon Ekpa. That is the only project we have at hand. Nothing again. Anybody that is telling about any other thing is scam. It is scam. Anybody that is preaching anything, telling you anything about any project, any contribution you are making, if it is not for release of Mazi Nnamdi or Mazi Simon Ekpa, it is fake. You are wasting your time. I'm not telling you the money belongs to you, your strength belongs to you, your time belongs to you. If you want to waste your time, it's up to you. You want to waste your money, it's up to you. You want to waste your effort and prayer, it's up to you. But if you want to put your money where your mouth is, the only place our mouth is now is the release of Mazi Simon Ekpa, release of Mazi Nnamdi. Put your money there. Put your prayer there. Put your time there. Put your effort there. It doesn't matter how many people that participate on sit at home. It doesn't matter. That legacy, we must keep it. The memory must be alive. We must continue to keep that memory alive. And our freedom will be restored by fire, by force. Whether they agree or whether they don't agree, our freedom must come. Because Nigeria is gone and gone for good. And you know, every evening we come here to prove to you that Nigeria is gone. And we prove it from the information that is coming from their own conventional media with the amount. You will see how Boko Haram is dealing with them. You will see how the government is dealing with these idiots that will come and will type on our comment section and telling us legacy of Mazi Samanaka is satanic legacy. But the main demonic legacy is killing you in Nigeria. He's dealing with you in Nigeria. You still have time to come and talk. Our leaders shall be free. They will be free. Nothing will stop the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu. Nothing will stop their freedom. It is going to happen very soon. The only thing we have to do is to continue to pray for them. Continue to pray for them. Because the freedom of Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Ekpa is the beginning of our freedom. The freedom of Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Ekpa is the beginning of our unity. The freedom of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and Mazi Simon Ekpa is the beginning of our recognition. This is the bitter truth. But you have to swallow it. As I always say, I don't come here to tell you something to make you happy. I don't come here to tell you something you want to hear to follow me. No. No. Use your brain to listen. Use your common sense. Listen. And make verification. The truth is the only thing we are speaking. What is obtainable? Reality. We focus on reality on the ground. The reality on the ground is what I'm telling you. Nigerian government has taken over our land. They are in charge of our land, doing everything they can. You can see them, they are campaigning, they don't care. They inaugurate their city boys, doing everything they do. Nobody is challenging them. Nobody is challenging them. They do everything. Next year, they will do the election. Nobody is challenging them. But you know, if Mazen Nandekano Mazen Samuel is here, by now, they will be running helter skelter. By now, they will be peeing on their pants because they know we cannot allow them to hold an election in our land. They know. But today, nobody is challenging them. They know they don't have any challenge. They have destroyed, taken away Mazen Nandekano, taken away Mazen Samuel, and they destroyed the Liberation Army. The Liberation Army that is giving them water, they have used our own people to sabotage them. The same people they are protecting, they use them to sabotage them. But we will not give up. We will not give up. We will continue to pray for them and we believe that Chukwu Okike will give us victory. Continue to do your own part. Anything you know you can do to see that we have our freedom, do it. Do it. Anything you can do for our freedom, do it. Don't look back. Don't get discouraged. Nigeria is finished. Nigeria is finished. And to confirm it, we will continue to show you the confirmation from their own media. We go to their conventional media, we bring their report, and we show you. So when you listen to their own media, you hear from them. You will understand what is going on. That it is not just us. It is not just us talking. It is not us talking. It is just seeing the things that is happening and how it is. We are not trying to blackmail anybody. Neither are we trying to say something different, but telling you exactly the reality on the ground. So we have to go to their media. Let's show you what is happening in the zoo. For you to know that the zoo is finished and there is nothing that will save it. The more you try to save it, the more it destroys. Chukwu Okike will help us and give us the strength and power to overcome.
Itself. Malumba Tada in East Local Government Area There's the scars of yet
This is
another
Boko Haram dealing with them in Nigeria.
one that has left families shattered and livelihoods destroyed.
It's their latest attack.
When News Central arrived, silence hung heavily in air. Homes once filled with light and laughter now stand abandoned, many reduced to rubble. Residents who stayed behind say they had no choice, they simply had nowhere to go.
Very, very bad. Because it's an gene there, can you that is here is one of what I can take a young Caswana man, but we tell young boy. Man, that situation is my dog in there. Sipas Ruba and I can feel beginning about Vice Ruba. One to the hand and then the yam and one and also one beginning one bamboo tea loving you. I hear Rukumayana, you might go in here. Seven. Seven, so it's one missing Bakini, Bakuman 10.
Community members say at least 10 bodies were recovered on Sunday, but the story is far from over. Many victims are still believed to be missing, with local search teams unable to access parts of the bush due to the absence of security personnel.
So what nothing changes about long history. You said this will be. Well, I would do it. I was saying, then you never would have got a
Beyond the loss of lives, the destruction is widespread. Homes have been razed, food supplies wiped out, farming tools destroyed, cutting off the only source of livelihood for many families. Thousands have now fled the community, taking shelter in Ekpa and Ayani, uncertain of what comes next. Those who remain feel fear has become a constant companion.
So I think you're buying for water. That's it. So I think you're about categories. My own government about so yeah. That's what I'm going to that's what we're supposed to pay Malana. So that's the who was you? Who was you? Give me this one. You get to add Bamiga option now. That's why you get it away. So Kafana, at this point, that's why you're planning.
Other members of the community were too devastated to speak about the incident. Here, the land is everything. It feeds families, defines identity, and sustains entire communities. But now that lifeline has been broken, members of the community say they are holding on to what is left and hoping help comes before what remains is lost. In Benue, for News Central, CWC.
That is the latest attack in Benue State. Latest attack in Benue State. That is what you just saw. The latest attack in Benue State. Nigeria is gone. When we say it, people think maybe, oh, they are making up words. What I'm showing you is what is happening in the Zoological Republic.
So my position with what happened was a strike that was intended terrorists. I think it is more logical to assume that there might have been casualties or possibly civilians that were affected. I'm not really sure, but I am most certain that that attack was carried out on terrorists. Otherwise, official authorities of the state would not, because they have been in the picture. So if they are
So when is Amnesty International and Reuters news agency reporting upwards of 200, and they seem to be very sure that
they are denying the attack on civilians.
So where might
Mad people.
Own reports from, and who should be reporting?
Yes, let me be very clear with you with regards to Amnesty International and those other news outlets. Yes, they did say 200 or even more. You will remember there was an airstrike a couple of years ago. Much as it happened this way, the Nigerian military explained the time it took to study that environment and why it struck at the time it struck. But at some point it was overwhelmed by reports such that comes from Amnesty International, and then a very speedy report from the United Nations that captured that attack as a genocide against Fulani people. But then for so many years, people would let you know, especially those around those in Benue, that the most deadly attacks in Benue, the Islamists were traced from that place to launch their attack and retreated to that area. So what does seem to be happening is this, that they have created a scenario where they would strike and retreat into a certain kind of population, mostly theirs, that looks like it's just an ordinary civilian population. So it is making it impossible to basically kill them in mass. So once they escape the scene of attack, where they attack and they escape, it is difficult to look at them and say, these are terrorists. So it takes time to gather, intelligence before you launch that attack. Where they stay is not just...
Because your country is an idiotic country. These terrorists move in convoy. These terrorists have camps. Why don't you go to their camp? What is happening in Zambeza forest? So this aircraft cannot enter Zambeza forest. This aircraft cannot dictate terrorists that move in convoy. And you come to social media on national TV and you're talking nonsense. Idiot.
A militarized zone is a place where they have women, where they cook, where they pray, where they do a lot of things like ordinary civilians do it. So I will not go with either Reuters or Amnesty International in this regard. The reason is because the military, both military and civilian of late have suffered heavy casualties from the hands of these people, mostly in ambush. But the problem is that there is a pattern that the very moment the military heightens its aggression against this people, there are strong forces that condemn it. An example is you would find somebody like Shekuni also sharing a similar view that he was in Chinese. But if you look at his track record, you know he has always spoken on behalf of terrorists. And he has an opinion that they should not be killed. When they are bombed, he believes that it's a genocide. He believes they should be listened to. He believes what they deserve, what they demand should be done to them so that they could live in peace. So when you have strong forces as such, looking at such aggression against terrorists, they will definitely classify them as civilians. So possibly those people were misinformed, or perhaps there is a conspiracy where those channels are just waiting. The very moment we realize they are taking out these people, we have to protect them.
That is Nigeria. Every time they come online and defend idiocy, they come online and defend. The military bombed civilians, and this guy is given an excuse that those people are not civilians, they are terrorists. The same Northerners, they will tell you that they are their brothers and sisters. That the terrorists, when they operate, they retreat within the civilians and they mix up them. When you bomb them, they will say you bomb civilians. The same North confusing themselves. The same one. Everything, the same one. Useless country. Useless country. Boko Haram have camp. ISWAP have camp. Every one of them have their camps. We see the bandit moving in convoy. Literally, we see their convoy. Even an ordinary civilian, English Alhaji, is tracking them, know their movement. But federal government of Nigeria does not know their movement. And you come here to defend nonsense. Bunch of idiots. Bunch of idiots. Continue to defend rubbish. That is why Nigeria is a dead trap.
Welcome to the studio. Welcome to the program, to the discussion. As before you came, we were talking about the unfortunate incident that happened in Borno and Yobe, where scores of people were killed mistakenly by the Nigerian Air Force, because they thought that was where, I think that was a hideout for Boko Haram and terrorists. What can you say about that?
Well, I would say it's very unfortunate in the first place, and I send condolence to the bereaved ones. But this is a situation that happens keep occurring, meaning that it's showing that the Nigerian Air Force are underutilizing what is called intelligence gathering before operations. And it's very unfortunate that such thing happened in Kaduna before, and now it's happening in Yobe. And I don't know when the Nigerian Air Force will learn to communicate with the ground soldiers, because they're always having lack of communications. I don't know. This has to do a lot with lack of interagency cooperation. The Nigerian Air Force should know they cannot operate in isolation of the Nigerian Army, the ground soldiers. They're supposed to rely on the information the ground soldiers give them, or any intelligence officer on ground. Before they carry out such operation, they must check and check again. Not that they will be killing Nigerian citizens, innocent Nigerian citizens, and always come to say they are sorry. It is because there is no serious action taken on the Air Force. If the pilot is actually punished, if these pilots are actually punished, and maybe their commander demoted, and then serious action is taken up on them, they will not know. They will not have value and premium on the Nigerian citizens. They cannot just be carrying out indiscriminate and unguided operations, and then come to tell Nigerians that they are not aware that it's the market or it's not the hiding place for terrorists.
Yeah, well, let me take you on that. We know that this thing has happened quite, it's happened once too many, as a matter of fact. We had the issue at, a similar issue in the at University. Another happened also in Sokoto, somewhere in Sokoto or Zamfara, where, scores of villagers were killed, mistaken for terrorists. And now it has happened in Yobe, and some other time before, it has happened also in that axis. Now, as you rightly said, the Air Force must be able to coordinate their activities with the ground forces, with the Nigerian Army. There has to be inter-service synergy. But now that this has happened, what can the authorities do to be able to mitigate this occurrence? Because it's getting to the point where Nigerians are beginning to think that somehow the Air Force is it's either they're not doing their work well, or somehow there is some kind of something going on that we don't know.
The officer that carry out that operation must be court-martialed. There should be court-martial. There should be proper investigation, and the officer, the pilot himself, and whoever giving that coordinates, they should bring them to book and they should be court-martialed, because we cannot afford such incidents again. Killing Nigerian citizens in the name of killing Boko Harams, innocent citizens for that matter. So I am calling on the Nigerian chief of the air staff and the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the MSA that Nigeria say no to this. We cannot accept these excuses. The next time it happens, it may be misunderstood that some northerners are targeted in the country. How could only this thing happening in the northern part of the country? So they must bring these officers to book. They must be court-martialed. Both the pilots, whoever gave you that the coordinates, the command and control center, wherever they are, they should be brought to book. If there are military officers on ground, the ground soldiers, or the intelligence part of the ground soldiers, if they are on ground, if they are part of the coordination, then all of them should be brought to book and court-martialed.
But let me bring you to some recent incident that happened in the current Iran and American-Israel war, where on the first night of the attack on Iran, there was a bomb, that took out about 160 young girls in the primary school. People say these things happen, and it's one of the unfortunate events that happened in the war, and so it's collateral damage. And that Nigeria is not immune from it. Can we not say yes? Well, can we not say yes? This has happened before, even for a sophisticated country like America, with all the intelligence apparatus, with all the intelligence assets on ground and in the air, still this happened. So it's not isolated to Nigeria? Are you not calling it's not a harsh verdict from you?
listen to me. American oil is not a mistake. It is deliberate. It is deliberate. It is targeted because they have been warned that the intelligence have told them that target is school children, guess school children target, and yet they hit it because it's deliberate. It's deliberate. There is no mistake in America. They targeted that place and they have been targeting their shop and their school because it is just they just discovered that the Iranian girls are very intelligent. Most of this technological development they are having in today are done by these girls. So they went to they started with their kindergarten, primary,
idiot.
They started hitting all those places.
So it's another idiot.
It wasn't a mistake. And there's no American president that will come and tell you that was a mistake. It's a lie. But this one, again, they are telling us that it's a mistake and do not agree with this thing. That kind of thing must be brought to book. Proper investigation should be carried out and they must be brought to book.
So coming to the Nigerian situation, you alluded to the fact that what happened in what has been happening in Nigeria is a failure of coordinated action by the various forces of the army, because it's not a fight for just the NFA, Nigerian Air Force, but it's also a fight for by the army and intelligence outfits. So was there a failure of intelligence to be able to direct the airstrikes to where those things should take place, or was it just a random thing? And when it happened in Tunibiri, we had assurances from the authorities that this will not happen again, but now we see it happening. So what do they need to do in terms of coordinating themselves, that's the Nigerian Air Force and the Nigerian Army and DSS and other outfits, to be able to show that the strikes of the terrorists are precise and targeted at the people who are supposed to get this ordinance?
But first of all, I must commend the Minister of Defense, Christopher Musa, has been up and doing in terms of trying to make sure that this what is called interagency cooperation and sanity is there. And I think there's still much to be done. The other time, the Nigerian military base was attacked, and it was even on sometimes on the West internet, where the army were calling on the Air Force to come. There's attack coming to them. The ground soldiers were calling, and there was no response from the Air Force. So if you follow by what is happening between the Nigerian Army and the Nigerian Air Force, you will know that there is some sort of rivalry between the two. And this is very dangerous for the successful operation or mitigation of banditry and terrorism in Nigeria. We can never get to anywhere when there's no inter-agency signage. So I'm calling on the National Security Advisor, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and especially the Minister of Defense, who has tested the Office of the Chief of Defense Staff, that much need to be done to bring this sanity, more sanity within the military itself. And
let me, if I may, bring you up to speed on some of the developments that have occurred over the past couple of weeks or so in that axis. Another general was martyred, so to speak, recently. Sir? Yeah, another general also was killed recently, and this also added more tension to what's happening on the ground. Could this also be a corollary, or rather a development regarding that, because perhaps maybe the Air Force and the military authorities or the people on ground there may have felt, look, we are being killed and so on. These people who are supposed to be helping us on ground are not really allowing the terrorists to hide, within their space. So we are going to go all out, guns are blazing. Perhaps a lot of people are thinking along that line. Do you believe in that theory?
Well, as far as as I'm concerned, I think it is just synonymous to the failure of intelligence gathering, interagency synergy, etc., etc. But I would like to really appreciate the Nigerian military, I mean especially, that it has had the department now, Air Force department, where the Nigerian Air Force is not trying to cooperate with them. They have their air wing now, so their air wing, they should be connecting with their air wing in order to not having such a disaster or incident. If they cannot have that proper synergy, because it has always been there that this interagency security complex drive and all sort of things. If you look at the police, the army just doesn't, the military does not do any much regard to police. The police are not regard the civil defense, because there's times the police, the junior police officers who are even trying to pointing gun on the future of the civil defense in this country. So there must be proper.
And then also, just recently, just a couple of days ago in Bayelsa, we saw the unfortunate incident where naval people, the Navy, naval police, and Navy units, and the Army, who accompanied the president to the visit in Bayelsa, engaging in altercations between them. So it appears that there's some, as rightly observed, that some kind of disconnect between the various security forces fighting and also taking care of security issues. And this may also be one of those issues, because Nigerians have been looking for the day when people who are responsible for this kind of things will be put to will be punished, will be identified, tried and punished to serve as deterrent, so that there will be more professional approach to the fight against the insurgents, either in the northeast, northwest, or even elsewhere in the country. So these are issues that we think security experts like you should bring to fore, so that the authorities can look at it with a more, with a better eye in terms of getting things done the right way.
Yeah, we have been doing our best. I've been reaching out to the chief of defense staff in so many ways on how to improve quality synergy between the all formations, and how to put Nigerian first, Nigerian second, Nigerian third, and Nigerian last. Because all these things were other security agencies is service to our country. Any other interest should be disregarded. So we should always push Nigeria first, second, third, and last. And then we can start thinking from fifth positions and something else. But as far as this country is concerned, we have no any other country more than Nigeria. And we should know that we are serving our country. It is not about the military superiority or police this thing,
On a final note, because we are already against time, Dr. Aliyu, when will the military authorities take responsibility over this? Because
joining us now with stories trending around the world is Anyeze Osakwe. Good morning, Annie.
Good morning, Dr. Abachi. Happy Monday. Yes. That's a thing.
TGIM. Thank God it's Monday.
Thank God it's Monday. Ayo, good morning.
Happy for every day of the week in Nigeria. So there's happy
That's
Monday,
true.
happy Tuesday, happy Wednesday, everything. Good morning.
Why not? Happy Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Annie. Good morning. Great to see you as well.
Good to see you all. Good to see you all. And good morning to everyone out there. Let's begin what's trending with reactions of shock and confusion, both nationally and internationally, to the news out of Borno State, where right now the Nigerian military is defending a deadly Saturday airstrike on Jili Market located near the Borno-Yobe border, near Gubio and Gate Dam local government areas, respectively. Now, by Sunday, videos and pictures began emerging of a destroyed market area with bodies laying haphazardly on the floor. Let's take a look at just a very short portion of that footage. was incredibly graphic, that's why it was blurred, but local reports now put the death toll at more than 60, but some officials in that region put the number at over 200 people killed, reflecting the ongoing lack of clarity over, one, how many people were killed, and two, who exactly was killed, whether civilians or terrorists. According to the Army's media information officer in a Sunday post on X, and I'll read from that statement in part, he said the successful strike followed sustained intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions over an area long identified as a major terrorist movement corridor and convergence point for ISWAP terrorists and their collaborators. Post-strike assessment confirmed that the target area was struck with high accuracy, resulting in the destruction of the identified terrorist logistics enclave. Now, scores of terrorists were neutralized in the strike. And of course, a lot of people on social media had mixed reactions to what happened as well. And I'll take one post from someone called Enigma, who said sustained pressure, intelligence dominance, and denial of mobility. That's how insurgencies are broken. This operation shows Operation Hadin Kai understands modern warfare, disrupts logistics, restricts movement, and collapses the enemy's ability to fight. Kudos to the Nigerian military. This is disciplined, strategic execution. But on the other hand, another person reacting to reports that civilians, innocent people were hit, said this isn't a one-off mistake. Nigerian military airstrikes have repeatedly hit civilians in the northeast markets, villages, internally displaced camps because of poor intelligence, reckless targeting, or sheer incompetence. Boko Haram and ISWAP thrive in this chaos. While the state is meant to protect its people, it drops bombs on them instead. Demand accountability, pressure for real reform, not photo op operations. And for Nigeria's leaders, if you can't protect your own people from your own bombs, step aside or dissolve the failed experiment before more markets become mass graves. Now, it's important to emphasize the point that this is a market that sits on a border between Yobe and Borno states, with the Yobe State Emergency Management Agency pushing back that only terrorists were hit. They say that civilians, including traders, were killed in what they're calling an accidental airstrike at the market. On the Borno side, the state governor, Babagana Zulum, on Sunday, revealed that this market has been closed for the last 5 years because it's a hub for terrorist activity. Now, Ayo, we have 2 states, 1 border, and a lot of conflicting reports.
And I think it's quite sad that we have conflicting reports because in this war against terrorism, the fight against terrorism, the Nigerian military has come under a lot of fire. And so you can understand when you hear reports like this, it's easier to believe that they have made another error, they made another mistake, they bombed civilians because there's a trust deficit. However, in saying this, let us map out the Jili market in itself. And thank you for putting that footnote that the governor himself has come out to say that the market was closed because it had been identified as a hotspot, a convergence point for terrorists. It's a market, it's not your conventional market. So I just want to let people know. You can look at Jili on the map of Nigeria, you see that it's isolated. It is they cross from, I think it's Fujiram forest into Jili, and this is where the terrorists are able to buy and sell, sometimes with complicit or sympathizers in the area of some of the local communities, because we've often talked about how some of the reasons why these terrorists thrive is because of complicity with locals who know that they are terrorists and still continue to trade with them, despite the fact that the market has been closed and any operation that happens there is illegal. The market is not open all the time. It is open periodically when they want to trade. And so it has been identified by the military that it is a hotbed for terrorists. And earlier on, I asked the question that for those, if there were civilians there that were not complicit, what were they doing there at the time of the bombing? What transaction did they have in a place that has been identified as an avenue for transactions for terrorists? That was one question. The other part was that the military had intelligence, and they had their own personnel infiltrate and go into the markets to really understand and map out the area. So they knew it was intelligence-led precision airstrikes. And I asked the question as well that if we're going to be serious about this fight against terrorism, we must also be serious about those who enable it. Whether the market people who want to sell to the terrorists knowing what they do, and the people who continue to aid and abet the terrorists. That's the truth. And one thing that the military has also called for consistently is that in an area where war is ongoing, the advice is not to have to evacuate the civilians from there so that they know who they are going to, who they are facing. Therefore, if there's been consistent information in the last 5 years that civilians should not go there because this is a terrorist hotspot, then to be honest, by all means, if this attack was done by the military, this is part of the fight against terrorism. We cannot handle this with kids' gloves anymore. I don't think people are not tired of the reign of terror by these people who want to be brazen, who want to come out and keep, going into communities and even having little government in these pockets of communities and have enablers. And so these are the conversations we must have. And so the big question is the civilians that were found on that soil, on that ground in the Gili market, what were they doing there? What was their mission there? And then for the terrorists, according to reports, high-profile terrorists were actually taken out in this particular raid. So what I'm saying is that have the military had incidents before in the past? Absolutely, but we must also come to a point where we choose whether we're supporting our troops to finally get rid of the menace of terrorism, or we want to keep pushing blames and saying, oh no, this is always... There comes a point where we must also support the efforts of the military. In saying this, one of the things I would just round off in saying is that there's more push for more provision of more platforms. If this administration has said it, they must also demonstrate by putting their money where their mouth is. They must provide more helicopters for these surveillances and for these military actions. They must provide more equipment, more weapons, to be able to go into these places. There have been operations like this, but this also cannot take out the provocation of the Brigadier General Husseini that was killed just last week, and a number of, the brazenness of these terrorists to go even into military sites and go and attack them. So I think it's important to mention that, so that this country knows that Gili is not your conventional market. It's a market where tourists have been known to trade and interact.
Definitely.
What is the rule of engagement? The rule of engagement under international humanitarian law, we go back to the Geneva Convention of 1949, is that when there is a military operation of any type, the primary responsibility of the military is to make sure that civilians are not killed. International law makes provision for the protection of civilians who are hors de combat, as they say, in the literature. So in this particular case, if civilians were killed, whether they have been identified or not in a country where we don't even have proper identification of them, then it is wrong. It's an error. It's a violation of the rule of engagement. And that is why I think it is important that the Air Force now has ordered an investigation to find out whether what they did refer to as precision strike, whether there was failure, whether there was failure also of intelligence in terms of this particular operation. And when they carry out that investigation, they have an obligation on the grounds of transparency and accountability to let us know, because it is possible also for the military to learn from what has happened. What we can hold on to is that now the military, I think they issued a statement saying in that Bono axis, motorcycles, the use of motorcycles have been banned forthwith, because according to them, motorcycles, these are the main tool for the transportation of men, materials, and logistics by both ISWAP and Boko Haram. So was it that there was a concentration of motorcycles around this Gili market? These are the details, for greater efficiency on the part of the military. So we cannot just assume that these people are victims of collateral damage, to the extent that, as they say, the terrorists are embedded within communities. And in many parts of the northeast and northwest, we have seen that our compatriots who know these terrorists, they are not forthcoming with information to isolate and identify these terrorists, who in many of those communities, whether in the border area or elsewhere, or in an ungoverned space, even collect taxes from the people. So there is need for greater diligence. It's not something we can just wish away.
Definitely. And, as the nation really begins to hone in a lot more on this market, this Gili market that we've been talking about, let's take another story linked to it, because right now we have a 15-year-old boy in the custody of troops of Operation Hadinkai after he admitted that he was one of the terrorists that attacked Beni Sheikh and Ngandu on Thursday, killing Brigadier General Oseni Brahima and other soldiers in the 29th Brigade. Now, the boy, identified as Tijani, made his confession on camera, saying he was arrested by troops after leaving Jili Market on Sunday. Let's watch.
Sunana Tijani, shakara na goma sha biyar ne. Mun dawo Jili mun yi atake na Bani Sheikh da Ngandu. Sai mu koma Jili. Da muka koma Jili ne aka aike mu je mu siya kayan abinci. An bani 1850 mu je mu siya abinci. Da muka dawo ne, motar mu ya cire mu kusa da Damaturu. Muka shiga Damaturu da kafa. Da muka shiga Damaturu da kafa muka kawo mota muka daina Ngandu. Mu kwana Ngandu. Da mun kwana Ngandu ne. Da na tashi ban kalla ƴan uwana ba sai na zo na tambaye su shugari. Sai aka kama ni. To yanzu motar mu 20 ne amma dan ya baci.
20 din kai na motar da su.
Suna Jili ne. Yan Boko Haram ne a Jili. Yanzu suna gidan mota.
So you had him there saying it's Boko Haram that stays in Jili. And let's stay in Borno State for another quick story where the governor, Zulum, revealed on Saturday that this same attack that Tijan says he was part of was actually known to security forces 3 days before it happened. Now, the governor made this known to the public during a visit to the town, where he also called for an immediate review of the military's strategies to prevent this from happening again. Let's watch.
This is one of the most surprising attacks that I've witnessed in recent times. There is a need for us to also review our security architecture because credible intelligence was received that these madmen were trying to attack this place for about 3 days.
And then by all of this drip of information is coming out as the public is now also seeing new videos slowly emerging of Brigadier General Brahima this weekend. All of the different clips painting a picture of who he was, his character, his stature, and how he interacted with others. Let's take a look at just one video to that effect.
I like your search. Regards to the family, yeah? God will see you guys through to the end of your tenure. Yes? All the best. I believe it. No, I believe he's happiest because he knows things is directly behind me.
But by taking all of these stories together, because we've essentially just been talking about Borno State this morning, but we're seeing this 15-year-old boy essentially admit to a terrorist attack. I mean, what comes to mind when you see something like that? And the person who was killed in the effect.
There's so many things to put together here. Again, we continue to mourn Brigadier General Arama and all our fallen soldiers. But let's try to take these things one at a time. The governor comes out to say that there was a warning about this attack 3 days prior. And I remember on the morning after the attack, I spoke about the Burn the Camp campaign, which is something that ISWAP have gone to social, because these people are not bold enough to go to social media and declare what they're doing. Islamic State across Africa is currently doing the Burn the Camp campaign, targeting military camps and military sites across the continent. We've seen one major one happen in Mozambique as well. They're happening across the border in Niger and Burkina Faso. So this is something that they ordinarily should have been intelligence about. And he's saying there is intelligence. However, we see this repeated pattern that we've now unfortunately become accustomed to, which is our failure to act on intelligence. Now, many people are calling what then happened at Jili Market sort of a retaliatory attack. I don't know if retaliation is the correct word, but I think then we can talk about the efficiency of intelligence, which is that they tracked these people from the scene of that attack to the place where they were then annihilated. Now, let's talk about the complexities. For me, the complexities lie in what feels like policy inconsistency. We're setting a very dangerous precedent for ourselves if we now say that any community that has terrorists embedded in it means that the community sympathizes with terrorists, so they deserve to be wiped out. Very dangerous precedent if that is what we're saying, because we know that with asymmetric warfare, it's barely black or white. There's a lot of intrigues that go into it, and what is important is to ensure that the life of a Nigerian is preserved at all costs. The same, one day we hope to get to the same extent that Donald Trump did for that Air Force officer who was trapped in Iran. We want to see that kind of passion and love and investment go towards protecting a Nigerian life. Having said that, you see this young man, and we now go into the debate about, okay, there are people who've been convicted for supporting these terrorist organizations through selling goods to them, trading with them, and so forth. You ask yourself, well, there's a vacuum of governance. What were the people going to the markets to do? What do they go to do there on a weekly basis? They go to trade because they can't survive. What will they survive on? I'm not making a case for, I'm not a terrorist sympathizer by any means whatsoever. I'm just trying to draw nuance to how complex this issue is and why it's so difficult for us to tackle it and nip it in the bud. The terrorists have created a war economy. Fine, we cut off that war economy. What is the alternative for the people of these communities? Government needs to step in to create an economy for these people so that they don't fall back into the hands of whatever God knows name the group of that's going to try and crop up next. Hopefully affliction will not arise again in this instance. And my last point, sorry, as I round up, is now the complex issue of rehabilitation, reintegration, because we are saying, okay, there are some people in the community who are complicit that deserve to be wiped out or that deserve to be treated as terrorists. But then there's also a policy at the moment that says, no, but some people should be reintegrated. Right. So we need that policy consistency so that even the citizens, so that even when we go to the grassroots and there's communication happening with the people on the grassroots who are directly affected by this, because these terrorist organizations, whether it be Hamas as they operate in the Middle East, or whether it be Islamic State as they operate in Nigeria, the modus operandi is to use civilians as their human shield. So all these things, I'm not a security expert, but for me, I think, you look at all of these things and you realize why there's kinetic and there's non-kinetic. Again, we want the terrorists annihilated, but we also want Nigerian lives, innocent Nigerian lives to be preserved. And we also want a country and an economy that's conducive so that we don't have innocent civilians feeling that they have no one to turn to, but this false evil, so self-proclaimed savior to try and fend for themselves. So for me, that's the way I see the issue.
The more of the story here is what nobody has talked about, which is the increasing emergence of a group of child soldiers, child terrorists. That boy, if it is true indeed that he's just 15 years, he's been robbed of his innocence, he's been robbed of his future, and he's not alone. In this same attack in Maiduguri the other day, we saw that young people were involved, being used as go-betweens and as couriers. Right. That is the tragedy of the experience, that the whole emerging generation is losing their future because the country has not provided education for them, has not provided the kind of background that they need for them, and they have a future that is lost even before it's starting.
It's so tragic. I mean, 15 years old, the video is jarring, and it's so good that you were able to point that out because it's an issue that we're increasingly dealing with here in Nigeria. But let's shift gears by now heading to Bayelsa State, where in a very eventful visit on Friday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been trending all weekend for some comments that he made where he told Nigerians to thank their lucky stars that they're not in Kenya or other African countries dealing with more severe economic crises. The president also acknowledging that, yes, fuel prices are high, but he also promised to make everyday life easier for Nigerians. Let's take a look.
The fuel prices is biting hard. But look around, let's just thank God together that you are better off. Listen to them in Kenya, in other African countries, what they are going through.
Now, the president described today's struggles as being caused by forces beyond our control here in the country. The speech was delivered while opening new projects executed by the state governor, Duye Diri, in Yanagwa, including a bridge, dual carriageways, and the Yanagwa City Road. But at the same time, that wasn't the only trending moment from this Bayelsa trip, because right now you have military personnel currently in custody after a very public and very violent altercation with fellow officers during the president's visit on Friday. Now, the fight captured on video shows the moment a Hilux driver with the naval police comes out of his car, yells at another driver, before returning to his car. But as he's getting in, a soldier with a rifle launches at him, and chaos ensues. Let's take a look. We know that those involved are now in custody. They're going through disciplinary measures, but I'll take one quick reaction from someone on X who said, if an officer would treat a fellow officer this way, then imagine the fate of an ordinary civilian. They'd be harassed, beaten up, and humiliated with impunity. Other personnel jumped out of their vehicles. They chose sides instead of diffusing the situation on ground. That speaks to improper training, orientation of personnel in the military. What about retraining and reorientations, crisis management, anger management? Are these programs not being implemented by our military? Every day something new happens in Nigeria that baffles me. Ayo, how do we react to
when I saw the video,
this video?
It's and I agree with that last expose that you put out there. I think the shock and the upset for a number of people would be that the military is meant to be known as bastion of discipline, professionalism, and oftentimes that has come under question. But in terms of when they go on operations, how some of them act unprofessionally, and so this is a reflection of what the state of play is in some parts. However, I am glad that you also mentioned that they are undergoing, I hope, investigation and that they will face disciplinary action. But it's not just disciplinary action at this level. I hope, irrespective of the level they're at or who is backing or supporting them, that they would really face the consequences of this disgraceful action. It is very disgraceful that they did this while they were in uniform. They didn't even respect the fact that they were on the convoy of the presidency and were acting in such a shameful manner. And so whilst on one hand, and it goes back to the conversation from last week, and where we're talking about, we're praising, after the death, the sad death of, Brigadier General Husseini. We're talking about, welfare of military, let's respect men in uniform. But how do we respect men in uniform if they themselves do not respect themselves in uniform because of maybe the way they've been treated, the condition of how they are being handled? Yeah. As I think it's important to highlight that on one hand, it is good to praise and talk about support, but they themselves must demonstrate that by respecting the uniform that they wear. I've seen men in uniform in very ridiculous and shameful situations, and I think that needs to end. Maybe tougher, tough sanctions. Now, one sentence on President Tinubu comparing Nigeria and Kenya. I think I saw Sapito Obi's response to that, and I thought it was quite detailed and rich because it's the danger of one side of the story. Yes, on one hand, they are doing better in one area, but in terms of their access to power, infrastructure, we close our face. In terms of their insecurity and tackling of insecurity, Nigeria is fourth, I believe, most terrorized nation in the world as listed by ETI. Close on our face. So it's not really balanced in that area.
I'm sure a lot of Kenyans were wondering, what did we do to get brought into it?
There's a price freeze on the fuel price. The inflation rate is lower than Nigeria.
That too.
The inflation rate in Kenya is 4.4%. In Nigeria is 15.10%.
That's too large of a disparity.
They have a state-owned refinery that's been broken down for a very long time. So we're doing better because we have Dangote refinery. I guess on the positive side.
Per capita in Kenya is 2,260. In Nigeria, it's just $1,200.
It's okay, we have
minimum wage. Minimum wage in Kenya is higher than minimum wage in Nigeria.
So one day, we are. And on that note, I think we should move to our milestone now, since we were talking about Dangote and we're running out of time. Let's take our milestone report today, where we're celebrating Alhaji Aliko Dangote, the chairman of the Dangote Group and one of Africa's biggest industrialists, who turned 69 on the 10th of April. With President Bola
must collectively rescue the country from Tinubu's oppression, as well as the deepening poverty, hunger, and insecurity in the land under his watch. Meanwhile, ADC nominated Atiku, former presidential candidate Peter Obi, former Kano State Governor Rabiu Kwankwaso, and former Minister of Transportation Chibuke Amechi to conduct the party's national convention scheduled to hold tomorrow, April 14, in Abuja. The convention has former Cross River State Governor Leo Imoke as chairman of a 126-member convention planning committee. Tambuwal was named deputy chairman of the convention committee, while a former Kaduna State Governor, Nasir El-Rufai, and former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, were also named as members. Moving on, several civilians are feared dead following an airstrike by the Nigerian Air Force at Jini Market in Yobe State, according to local sources. The incident occurred on Saturday evening at Jini Market in Fuchimiram Ward at Gaydam local government area near the border with Borno State. According to witnesses, a military fighter jet was trailing the movement of suspected Boko Haram's insurgents in their enclave, who later moved to the market to collect levies from residents. Although the exact number of casualties is unknown, locals say several people lost their lives with bodies strewn all over nearby bushes. Injured survivors have been evacuated to medical facilities in Damaturu and parts of Borno State. The Nigerian Air Force has confirmed carrying out an airstrike in Jili, a border community between Borno and Yobe states, targeting Boko Haram insurgents. However, concerns are mounting over civilian casualties from the operation, with some of the victims rushed to hospitals in Borno. Arise correspondent Sunny Adamu tells us more.
More than 20 victims injured in the airstrike have been evacuated to the Borno State Specialist Hospital in Maiduguri for medical attention. Hospital officials say the victims include 5 females and 16 men, all with varying degrees of injuries, some of them critical. The medical director of the hospital, Dr. Shehu Muhammad, says medical teams are working around the clock to stabilize the patients.
Today we received about 21 victims of both blast as well as gunshot wound from the town in between Ubio and Yoda. So most of them sustained various injuries. Some, although most of the affected areas are victims, but some have abdominal injuries, thoracic as well as head injuries. So we started sorting them out. Most of them have been sorted, except for the critical ones. So far, we have 21, out of 21, 5 are female, while 16 are male.
The Nigerian Air Force says the strike targeted suspected Boko Haram insurgents in the area. It has, however, directed an immediate activation of the Civilian Harm Accident and Investigation Cell to immediately investigate the allegation. Medical personnel say some of the injured remain in critical condition.
They came in various degrees of severity. There are mild ones, there is moderate, and then the severe ones are those that are like down here. They need to be explored. Experimental apparatus will have to be operated. Some have started receiving the operations.
Residents say the strike hit a busy market in Jelly, where locals had gathered for trading activities. Families of the victims have continued to troop into the hospital in search of their loved ones, as anxieties grows over the condition of those receiving treatment. In Maiduguri, Sunny Adamu, Arise News.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Air Force says it has launched an investigation following reports of civilian casualties linked to an airstrike at Jini Market in Yobe State. The Chief of Air Staff has ordered the activation of the Civilian Harm Investigation Cell to immediately visit the area and establish the facts surrounding the incident. At the same time, the air component of Operation Hadin Kai says it carried out precision airstrikes in parts of Borno State, targeting fleeing and regrouping terrorist elements. According to the Air Force, the operation was conducted in coordination with ground forces based on credible intelligence aimed at degrading insurgent activity and preventing further attacks on security personnel. Authorities say the mission is part of ongoing efforts to strengthen security operations across the Northeast Theatre. And finally, on the news, the United States has commended the Nigerian government for securing 386 convictions in terrorism-related cases, describing the development as a significant step towards justice and accountability. The commendation was issued by the U.S. Senior Advisor for Arab and African Affairs, Masad Bulus, in a statement shared via X on Sunday. He praised Nigeria's efforts to fast-track terrorism trials. The U.S. further stressed the importance of transparent legal processes in tackling extremism. Right. Great. Start to this one. Interesting mix of stories today. Of course, what's going on in the Middle East. The successes recorded by Nigeria's military in terms of the airstrikes in Nigeria, and then, of course, the other side of it, where there are concerns around civilian casualties in these airstrikes, and then, of course, the United States comments. Very take on these stories this morning. All right. Well, I really do hope that soon we can evolve away from this culture that we seem to have developed of having to start our morning with condolences. But again, we start our morning and our week with condolences to those in Borno State, and of course to the entire nation, because one life lost anywhere in this nation to the hands of casualties, especially those resulting from the war against insurgency, is one life too many. So we do send out our condolences and prayers this morning. But when I read this news and when it hit me, and when I made various phone calls, the question that stuck out to me is, who is a terrorist? This is the question that stuck out to me. Why is it? If you look at Gini Market, several people have come out to speak. Governors, former Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Buratai, has also spoken about how notorious this Gini Market has been. As far back as 2018, they had created Operation Last Hold, which was supposed to try and sanitize this place. Lieutenant General Buratai describes this area around Gini Market as no man's land. What we know is that it is a place that is known to be an ISWAP stronghold. It is their territory that they claim. That in itself is unfortunate and it is sad, and it goes to show you the strategic nature in which these people operate in order to capture swathes of land and swathes of territory that they now govern under their wicked and evil organizations. Now, the unfortunate development in this, or rather the unfortunate incident in this, is that within these areas that we can frame as no man's land, there are innocent civilians living. It takes us to the issue of community complicity that we've spoken about last week. When we say within this ecosystem that these terrorist organizations create, embedded in it, supporting it and holding it up, are those civilians, innocent civilians, who have no other way to fend for themselves. So if it's a market, they've gone there to do their weekly shopping. Some of them are being accused of supporting the economy of terrorism. Now, this is where it gets very conflicting, and it's important to be as balanced and as neutral as possible. Because you ask yourself, given the economic environment, there's a economy that has been created by these terrorist nations that people are now tapping into as a means of survival because there's no other way to survive. However, on the side, if you look at the news coming from the United States from Masad Bulus, as he congratulates and commends Nigeria for being able to convict 386 terrorists, this is part of the group of 500. The other 100 or so will still be in the next phase of trial. But if you look at some of those crimes that we're convicting for under terrorism, you're looking at a former senatorial candidate who sold petroleum to Boko Haram. You're looking at people who supplied firewood. You're looking at people who supplied food. You're looking at the people who support the terrorist economy. Now, it's important that the Nigerian Air Force and the military are targeting the terrorist economy, because we always say that breaking off the financing of these organizations is what will be able to choke them and strangle them. However, we now ask ourselves that in the process of breaking off this economy, what is the policy around civilians and around those civilians that are supporting the war economy? I ask, what is the policy? Because remember, there are people who are rehabilitating. There are people who have been described by the military as low risk, so they get to be rehabilitated. However, there are other people who are being hit by kinetic force. So this is a policy gap that's now leading to this ambiguity and confusion. Because this morning, unfortunately, because since 2010, we've seen over a dozen NAF airstrikes that have hit civilians. This morning, many people are unable to have faith, are unable to believe the statement from the powers that be. That trust deficit has been created by the years in which, like I said, there have been over a dozen strikes that have hit civilian targets. I think it's really important to understand that this is complex. There's no black, there's no white, but it shouldn't be a crime to live in a place that has been taken over by a terrorist organization, and especially if it's a place that you're indigenous to. And it shouldn't be a crime that you die for. So I think there needs to be policy alignment with that. Very quickly, to round up, the ADC will be going to Congress on the 14th of April. Very big day for them. They've got a date with the Supreme Court, a date with the Federal High Court. Most likely the Federal High Court, of course, will step down for the Supreme Court on that day. But it's a judgment day, if I may say, for ADC. Throughout the weekend, following a release by the Nigerian Bar Association, legal minds have been unpacking and debating Section 83. And ultimately, the question is, does this Section 83 mean that, is it sweeping? Or if there are times in which the judiciary does get involved, does it take away from institutional neutrality? Well, tomorrow, the 14th, will be another judgment day. Many are saying it will go the way of Nnamdi Usman, in which the Supreme Court will uphold, again, the sanctity of internal party affairs.
Right. Well, it's not as if it is casting.
It is not.
Where fundamental rights are violated, the court can, of course, require it to remove. Even if the Supreme Court had said parties have control over their own affairs, but where there are issues that require judicial intervention, the position at home is that the Supreme Court can intervene where rights have been violated. So it's not casting black and white. However, to go to the specific topics, now the African Democratic Congress has been very insistent through petitions, World Press Conference that they had, through street protests, through the presentation of petition to INEC, and in all the statements that have been made by spokespersons of the party, that the party would disregard the position of INEC, namely the listing of the chairman of the party, David Mark, and also the secretary, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, namely the withdrawal of recognition for those two principal figures of the party. And also, the INEC also say to not relate with any of the factions of the ADC to prevent what the INEC chairman referred to as the Zamfara situation, where there was a post-election embarrassment for the party that purportedly won just because due process had not been followed. However, what is on display is the defiance of the David Mark faction. That said, they will hold congresses. I think the congresses were on April 9, and they did in a number of states: Borno, Yobe, Bauchi, Undo, and quite a number of places. But they had issues in Edo State where there was a contestation over who should be the chairman of the party in Edo State. There was also a suspension of the process in Katsina. And now tomorrow, April 14, is the advertised date for the convention. And the party has gone ahead to set up a convention committee and subcommittees. Well, we'll see tomorrow if that Congress holds, that convention holds. We will also see what follows thereafter, because INEC, which is the umpire, has very clear that no activity of any of the factions, 3 as at the last count, I hear there is a 4th one also, that INEC will not observe any of those, activities by whatever faction, raising questions of legitimacy from the, wording guidelines of INEC and regulations present to us. One part of it that I find curious, however, is that the party, speaking for its chairman of the media subcommittee, Ola Ologodiyan, has said that they applied to the federal government to use the Eagle Square. The same Eagle Square that was used by the APC with the Minister of Defense personally leading the security arrangement for the activity of the ruling party. Now he says they've been denied the use of that venue. He also said that the party has also asked for the use of the velodrome at the National Stadium in Abuja, and that they have also been denied. Now, we have always said that, look, this constitution, under which we are all governed, recognizes the freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. And we address the question. When the APC, in fact, declared a holiday for the Federal Secretariat to be able to use the Eagle Square, whether other political parties will be allowed access. So that's the question mark there, regardless of the issues that are still in the court. But I think for the ADC faction, the courts will still inquire into the matter. There's a pending case in the Federal High Court. There are other cases that may well come up. The fear, as expressed by Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, is that the ADC, David Mark faction, or the entire party, whatever faction, will find itself not being able to participate in this 2027 electoral process. You may now raise questions in that regard about how participatory the 20.
Now, terror attacks in northern Nigeria have intensified in early 2026 with ISWAP and Boko Haram insurgents killing hundreds in Borno, Yobe, and Kaduna states. In Borno State, 10 Christians were killed and a church was burnt by Islamic State fighters in Komoza on April 8th. Boko Haram and ISWAP extremists have engaged in sustained assaults against military locations in Beni Sheikh and Malam Fatori, though over 18 militants are said to have been killed in a repelled attack. A recent attack on the market in Jili, Yobe State resulted in a massive death toll, with reports varying from over 56 to at least 200 people have been killed. The Nigerian Air Force has intensified air interdiction operations, including a major strike on a Boko Haram and ISWAP hub in Marte local government area of Borno State. Gunmen have also killed nearly 200 people in Kwara and Katsina states between February and March of 2026, leading to increased troop deployment. This recent fighting resulted in the deaths of several soldiers, including a brigadier general. Meanwhile, Nigeria has commenced the prosecution of over 500 people accused of involvement in militant attacks, marking a significant step in tackling this 17-year insurgency. But for an expert analysis of the causes and solutions to the renewed wave of terror attacks in several parts of Nigeria, security analyst Jonathan Onoja joins us now. Good afternoon. Many thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me on the program. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, these numbers are as alarming as it could get. We're only barely 4 months into 2026, and we've seen how many Nigerians have paid the ultimate price. What do you make of the way that the security agencies and the government are addressing insecurity at the moment?
Well, I've often said that Nigeria insecurity is multidimensional. However, if you notice what is happening within our current military formation, it seems to be a sort of demoralization, structural demoralization, what we're going to put as operational atrophy. But over time, when these service chiefs, come together to make presentations to Mr. President, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think what one will see from that presentation is more of, hallowed presentation of our current military formation, because it seems good on the paper, you see everything ongoing good, well, but then there is no actual fights against, insecurity. I give you an instance. How do you want to have, an effective fight against, banditry, insurgents like we've seen in the Northeast, when our current security formation is demoralized? Only when the troops' welfare is prioritized. Mr. President have done a lot of things. We have seen that. But then, is it getting to the people? Sometime last week when I read on news from the civil society organization, the Odua Integrity Group, and as well as the one civil society organizations, the security analyst forum that came on board and said, look, up to this very moment, the chairman of the Military Pension Board, Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Adamu Idris, has not resumed office. How will the troops be motivated when they're not even guaranteed, they are not being guaranteed their welfare? How will you going to have committed, armed forces when they don't even know the next life after service, post-service life? So we must guarantee the welfare of our troops, and that is why those groups came on board to urge His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to intervene speedily to ensure that Air Vice Marshal Abubakar Adamu Idris resumed office. So until our welfare of our troops' welfare is prioritized, given what has happened in Borno State, no military formation want to go and pay the ultimate price when they're not even sure what will happen to their families when they're no more. So to me, we have failed in intelligence. We have failed in ensuring that there's an adequate welfare for our military and operational gadgets. When the bandits are even, investing on armed drones to displace generals, displace our formations, how well have we equipped our military? How well have we been able to ensure that their welfare is prioritized? So these are issues that we must look at. Not all kinetic approach, not all the time we go on a kinetic approach. We must look at the issues that constitutes insecurity within even the security formations and address it to ensure that we have a better Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Onoja, I want to find out from you because you've just outlined some of the major problems of the Nigerian military in trying to curb insecurity here in Nigeria. But listening to you, you would think that this is probably as straightforward as it is. We've had people on this program and on the Rise News time and time again who have come to provide solutions to the problem. As a matter of fact, this particular administration spoke about the inadequacies and the inefficiency of the Jonathan administration. But we've seen over time that anytime they are being saddled with the responsibility of securing lives and property, it is not as straightforward as everyone makes it sound. What is really the problem? How do we get to the bottom of all of this? Because if you are sounding and saying that things like morale is low, welfare is not being taken care of, that they are not getting enough ammunition to be able to fight this war, if that is the problem, and it's that simple, I'm sure that we'll be getting better results than this.
Well, I just highlighted one of the problems, and to me, it is a major problem if we must address anything insecurity in Nigeria. Our troops' welfare must be prioritized, and we will not be able to have, the troops' welfare when there's a leadership vacuum at the military pension board, when we still see the life of our veterans.
So that we do not run around in circles. Are you saying that if the troops' welfare is, are you saying that if the troops' welfare has been taken care of, and the pension board has someone there manning the seat, that our insecurity problems will just go away like that? All right, Mr. Jonathan, I said, are you saying that...
there's a disconnection from here.
Okay, can you hear me right now?
I understand your question very well. Yes, once we have been able to prioritize the welfare of our troops, the problems will be at least half solved. When last have you heard issues of accidental discharge from the police anymore? When last did you hear that? It is because at least we have been able to at least solve some of their issues. But the military who is currently at the war front, their welfare has not been prioritized. And that's because of the vacuum that have been created at the military pension board. Then again, these are all kinetic approach that we have designed to fight insecurity in Nigeria. What happened to the non-kinetic approach? We must try as much as possible, to address economic hardship. Nigerians are not having it smooth, in as much that we understand that yes, it is targeted towards having a better Nigeria. The removal of the fuel subsidy created a problem for us. Today, the inflation in the country has created a problem. Farmers' headers clashes has also brought about food scarcity and has also created another issues of insecurity, again, in food agricultural insecurity. So as it is, we have to look at the balance. While we are fighting the kinetic, we are using the kinetic approach. We must ensure that we bring in poverty alleviation, bring in programs that will be targeted towards ensuring a better life for Nigerians. Because we have a lot of out-of-school children in the north now, or because some could not be able to afford schools, tuition fees. We have a whole lot of insecurity around the north central, northeast, and north, particularly in north central now, and also in northeast. We must see how possible we are going to bring stakeholders on board to address the problems. When last did we talk about, community engagement? How well are the community engaged in the fight against insecurity? Intelligence is not even, a problem to us, but the issue is how well do we utilize the intelligence? So let's see how we can bring in the community to be part and parcel of the fight against insecurity, understanding that what government is all doing is targeted towards ensuring a better life for Nigerians. Not until that, if Nigerians are not assured of the next life, of the next dispensation, they won't be committed to the fight against insecurity. So Nigerians also need to own the country by contributing with intelligence and ensuring that they are also not, aiding and abetting this insecurity within the local communities. And they can only do that only when we assure them of protection of their lives and properties.
Of course. Mr. Naja, I appreciate the angle that you introduced, talking about the welfare, the economy, the state of the economy, because one thing we can't forget is before the troops are troops, they are human beings before the roles that they are assigned. But you mentioned something that I found slightly troubling. You asked when last did we hear about an accidental discharge from the police? When we look at the accidental killings of civilians by the Nigerian military operations, we've seen that it's almost become like an annual event. Are you attributing those mistakes to economic welfare as well, or is this just a misinterpretation of intelligence?
Well, as it is now, you also know that in the local parlance, they would use a language like a hungry man is an angry man. That is a situation, because we have seen a situation where there was an accidental discharge in the Federal Capital Territory in Wuse Market, all because of the alleged issues of money exchange. So I think that has been addressed a bit, because the current police welfare have been prioritized to some extent. Right. They receive their salary as and when due, and again you can see that yes, they have also been fighting for their pension to be moved from a particular. I don't want to mention. I'm not here to hold brief for them, but I've seen that at least there's improvement when it has to do with the military and civilian relations. We respect the police now. We are already getting towards there. It's just for us to see how we can formalize the issue of bail, that bail is free. Once we have actualized that, we'll be able to now have a robust community policing. Where the community will now trust the police. And we are getting towards that already.
Yes, we have basically a minute. Are you attributing the accidental killings in Nigerian military operation, accidental killing of civilians, are you attributing this to welfare, or is this an issue with intelligence not being interpreted accurately?
Basically, it's about welfare. Basically, it's welfare. Once the welfare is prioritized, we can get anything in Nigeria. I'm confident enough that the current military formation can give us the best only if the welfare is prioritized. And that is why I urge His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to look into the welfare of our military, and particularly about the military pension board. Once we have a coordinated leadership for our military and their welfare is prioritized and their Dibaku allowances is prioritized, I mean, how do you put in your best? Why do you put in your life? Why do you put your life on line, seeing that retired veterans are struggling to get their pensions, carrying their files all around the Federal Capital Territory, and you are in service? One of the things that have contributed so much in our current military, corruption is because of the lack of welfare. Once there's an assured welfare to even the veterans and the Dibaku allowances are paid, those in services will contribute meaningfully to the fight against insecurity. So I urge His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to hastily ensure that the military pension board chairmanship in Rifu is settled. Because when we go around to throw wreath on our fallen heroes, we should prioritize the welfare of our standing heroes.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you, Mr. Onoja, a security analyst for your time here on News Day.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. There was a nation living in peace and unity. Yeah. They are people with love and harmony. Oh, yeah. They saw greatness rise up to its purity. With another people of different culture, ideal and heritage, bias and oppressive. Oh, I see. A nation from trigger of Africa, rising with strength and might and power. In due time, nobody gonna praise us. Rather, you all gonna embrace her. With your flag, with your flag, with your flag, with your flag. Oh, yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home. Oh yeah, Biafra is our home. Oh, it's my home. Yeah, Biafra is our home.
I reminisce way back 1967. Death toll on the blood couldn't count them even. Mama screaming, child squealing, pops on the ground. 2.5 years, over 3 million's gone. Why? Cause we asked for our freedom, and we're going back to our sovereign kingdom. They shut us down when we cried, the world said nothing. Sitting back in the crib, watching our suffering. Should I talk about the place dropping shells like rain? Suka had the first taste of a hero's blood. Abagana Zobuni wave was stronger than flood, but the juke is too strong and fought them off on the chart. Thought the bloodshed's gone, then it came again. 216 and the massacre, it started again. So bloody name, I couldn't cry tears. Blood dripping down my eyes, water in my veins. We died trying to fight the cause and we're trying to break him. It's our freedom, but the world was against us.
Wave your flag over Africa. Welcome people of Biafra. Wave your flag over all the world. See those people of Zion is here.
It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion. It is the nation that the Lord has chosen for the people of Zion.
We need peace, we choose freedom. We need peace, we choose freedom. Yeah. Let the tears of our mothers who lost their children be heard. Let the blood of our heroes speak from now till forever. Let the whole wide world know Biafra is our home.